I've been using the iPhone 12 mini for a few weeks now, and I just need to get one thing out of the way immediately. This phone is not as small as you would think. Now, my first thought when the phone was announced was that it would just be way too small and that I would never be able to use it for a full day. But here we are, 3 weeks later, and I have some thoughts to share. What's up, guys? My name's Brandon, and this is my review on the iPhone 12 mini. So first off, we have to address the elephant in the room. Yes, the iPhone 12 mini is small. It has a 5.4-inch display and weighs just 135 grams with those aluminum edges and the glass front and back. It is small, but again, to my surprise, it is not as small as I originally expected, and that's due to this edge-to-edge display, because when you think of small phones, at least my mind immediately goes to the iPhone 5S or the iPhone SE even from earlier this year, but those phones have massive bezels, and that's what makes the screen seem extremely small, and that's where the iPhone 12 mini is different. It's not small because it doesn't have those bezels. It's a small form factor with a big screen on it. Now, yes, typing on the mini after using the iPhone 12 and 12 Pro Max did take some adjusting, but it was not near as bad as it was on the iPhone 5S or the iPhone SE. I really always had trouble on those keyboards, and typing would just drive me crazy. That was one of the main things I did not like about these smaller form factor iPhones of the past, but that's just not the case with the iPhone 12 mini. Now, I have made mistakes like in Snapchat. This is a weird example, but in Snapchat, I would go to backspace and I would accidentally hit the send button twice because I was trying to backspace just because I was not familiar with the keyboard layout. It was smaller than I was used to. But aside from that, I don't really make too many mistakes on the keyboard, and it's not as bad as I thought it would be. Now, if you're trying to game on the 12 mini or use it as your main source of media consumption, like watching YouTube videos or Netflix, I would obviously stay away for obvious reasons. The speakers are fine and very loud given the size of the phone, but the lack of screen real estate is one of my biggest gripes with a small phone in general. And even the 12 mini, even though it has the edge-to-edge display, it still is 5.4 inches. It's much smaller than even the regular iPhone 12 and especially the 12 Pro Max. And speaking of the size, the 12 mini also did not fit my Tesla wireless charging mat from Nomad. So it was too small to fit on there, and not being able to charge this phone like I'm able to with every other phone I've ever used was pretty disappointing. But that's just for that specific charger. It would fit fine on other wireless charging pads that don't have a downward slant to them like the one in the Tesla does. But still, that was one of the few gripes that I had with the size of the 12 mini. But the phone feels awesome in the hand and especially in the pocket as well. Like, I wear sweatpants and basketball shorts a lot around the house, and having a phone in there that doesn't always swing around like crazy and hit walls is really nice. It's also an ideal size for women who like to put their phone in their front or back pockets and not just in their purse. It is a great size for that because it won't stick out as much and it won't be as bulky in those pockets. And the squared off edges are really what makes the iPhone 12 mini stand out from other small phones that I've used, not even just iPhones. It helps a lot with the grip on the phone, and I never feel like the phone is going to slip out of my hands or anything like that. Even with a case on it, you have that more squared off design that is just the perfect form factor. This is a true one-handed phone, which is something I've always loved. Unlike the iPhone 12 Pro Max, which is impossible for me to use with one hand all the time, the 12 mini is able to be used one-handed 100% of the time for every single task. Pulling down the control center, typing, going up to Safari like that. I could do it all with one hand, which I could not do on something like the iPhone 12 Pro Max. And it's not like I have small hands either. I have, average sized hands. Here's how the mini fits in my hand. So it is small, for my hands, but just being able to use, one-handed gestures all the time, not having to use another hand is very, very convenient. If you look closely, you'll see that I have a screen protector on my iPhone 12 mini now, and that is due to my first mini getting a few scratches on the screen from really not much use at all. So even though we have the new ceramic shield on the glass of the iPhone 12s this year, which adds 4 times better drop durability, that does not seem to defend against scratches any better than previous iPhones. So don't expect, this thing to be like invincible to scratches, because it is definitely not. But the brightness and the overall quality of this OLED display is just simply awesome. It has the highest pixel density of any iPhone at 476 pixels per inch, which is just super impressive. Again, for this small form factor, it is awesome. Now, obviously it doesn't serve up as much space, which is why it has the higher pixel density, but still, it's impressive to have an OLED display on such a small device. Now, when it comes to the cameras, this was the first situation where I was out and about and I wished that I had the iPhone 12 Pro or Pro Max with me instead, and that's mainly for two reasons. So number one is the 2x optical zoom. So I did not realize how much I used that optical zoom until I was not able to use it with the 12 mini. Now, zooming into pictures still looks okay, but it looks much worse than the Pros with their optical zoom in. Now, of course, if we tap that 1x, we do go out to 0.5x, and that is thanks to the ultra wide camera inside of the 12 mini. And, I do wish that we had a telephoto on here because I do use the ultra wide, but I find myself using telephoto a lot more than ultra wide just because the ultra wide camera sometimes makes the image look, like rounded, and it makes it have a weird effect on it. So I do really miss the telephoto lens on the 12 mini. I really wish that we had all three cameras, but of course you have to have some compromise with the smaller and cheaper phone. The mini still takes awesome stills and videos since it has the same dual camera setup as the iPhone 12 and basically all of the important features that even the Pros have, like Smart HDR3, we have Deep Fusion, we have night mode, we have portrait lighting, and we have Dolby Vision HDR video and up to 4K 30 FPS. But the number two reason that I wished that I had the iPhone 12 Pro with me instead of the 12 mini was because I did notice a distinct difference in low light still and video quality compared to that 12 Pro and of course especially the 12 Pro Max. And the same goes with portrait shots. Those turned out noticeably better on the 12 Pro and Pro Max, but still, for what you pay for the mini, you're getting a great camera, especially for being on such a small body. Now, another factor you're gonna have to consider with the 12 mini is that the battery life is not going to last as long as any other iPhone 12. Now, with the iPhone 12, 12 Pro, and 12 Pro Max, I'm able to get through most of the day without charging my phone, usually all day without charging my phone, even one time. But with the mini, I do have to charge my phone at least one time throughout the day, otherwise it would die. So, let me make sure one thing is clear though. The battery life on the iPhone 12 mini is extremely impressive given its size. If you watched my battery test video, it got very close to outlasting the iPhone XR's battery at a significantly smaller size. So what Apple has done with the A14 Bionic chip inside is crazy, not just in terms of performance, but also in the efficiency. So I noticed that the efficiency was, the best on the 12 mini because of its small battery and its small size. The fact that it still, gets you through most of the day really is tremendous and really impressive for such a small form factor. And also one thing you'll notice after using the mini for a while is that you tend to not even try to watch videos or game on it as often as you do on bigger phones. It's like a psychological thing. It just makes you want to use the phone for what you should be using a phone for texting, for calling, for FaceTiming, and browsing social media, or going through your emails or browsing the web, things like that. And maybe that's just because I have an iPad, but I'd be willing to bet that you will notice a similar pattern when you use the iPhone 12 mini. You just don't gravitate towards gaming or media watching because of the screen size, and that in turn will also save some battery life in the long run. Now, performance is an area that you would expect to improve every year with Apple's A series chips, and nothing has changed with the A14 Bionic this year. It's extremely powerful and efficient, and I actually ran a speed test between the 12 mini and the 2020 iPhone SE, the two smallest iPhones that Apple currently sells, and the mini took the win in that test pretty easily. And it's also a huge bonus that we get 4 gigabytes of RAM on this small phone. We only got 3 gigabytes of RAM on the SE, so applications will stay open longer in the background compared to what you might be used to on older phones or even the SE, so that's always a plus. And gaming, like I said, is not necessarily the best experience, and that's mainly just due to the screen real estate, but the mini can handle anything you throw at it. So if you play Call of Duty Mobile, PUBG, any game like that, it's going to be able to handle it well. It's just going to be harder to compete because you're on such a smaller screen compared to other people, especially if you're playing something like Call of Duty or PUBG. So at the end of the day, if you want a true one-handed phone that feels like the old school iPhones, but with current gen specs, an incredible display, and an awesome camera, the iPhone 12 mini is an easy choice and a worthy upgrade from any older iPhone, even the iPhone 11 series. As long as you don't mind losing that telephoto camera and some battery life, I say the 12 mini is definitely worth the $779 price tag. And I say $779 because I do recommend going for the 128GB variant over the 64GB variants. Now, as for me personally, I will not be using the iPhone 12 mini as my daily phone simply due to the fact that I prefer the size of the iPhone 12 and the iPhone 12 Pro. And I do also need that telephoto lens and the LiDAR scanner that the 12 Pro offers. So if it wasn't for that, and especially for the size, if I preferred the size of the iPhone 12 mini, like if I had smaller hands, I would very likely be using this every day as my main phone for the next year until the iPhone 13 came out. That is really saying something because I really love the 12 mini and I think it is a great value. So, and battery life to me also is not as big of a deal since I'm always around chargers. So that's why the size of the phone and the cameras are going to be the main factors that carry the most weight when making a decision. But there you have it, guys. Those are my thoughts on the iPhone 12 mini after a few weeks of daily usage. If you guys enjoyed this video, I would appreciate if you gave it a thumbs up. And of course, make sure you subscribe for a lot more iPhone reviews and comparisons. But anyways, guys, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon.